What's your greatest accomplishment that you can't bring up in normal conversation? Talked a person out of killing themselves on a bridge one time 15 years ago. Took them to a restaurant and got them some food because I know I always feel better after I've eaten. No idea if they got better or tried again since. I once took dumps on 3 different continents within a 24-hour period. I once ordered 50 pizzas for a plane full of people after our flight out of Regina, Saskatchewan got delayed for several hours due to a mechanical problem. It was almost midnight and the small food stands were closed. We were the only plane waiting to leave. The face of one young boy looking at his mom saying I'm hungry and her saying I'm sorry. I can't do anything about it, just got to me. I managed to find a Domino's willing to take the order, and all the pizzas had to be screened through the x-ray. But I did it. Everyone was full, especially that little boy, and quite happy after that flight. Edit. Bonus picture as we were passing them through screening. Thanks for the awesome messages and love. The actual reason for my being in Regina is probably even crazier, but it's a long story for another day. Edit 2. Story time. So some of you have been asking about the story within the story for my reason as to why I was in Regina to begin with. At the time, I was working for a company that handles pharmaceutical logistics, shipping medications, samples, anything that needs to move fast, and working as a driver coordinator. I was known to be able to handle the crazy situations quite diligently. We had a shipment that was pretty urgent. Our VPs were watching it, which is rare. Apparently, I had gotten called by one of the heads of the pharma firm to also make sure it arrived on time. It was a testing kit from what I gathered, but labeled as life-saving, which meant that someone really needed this badly. Over the course of the day, the box was brought to Boston Airport as next flight out cargo. For one reason or another, it was bumped and never flew out. The routing out of Boston isn't the best, and by being bumped in the late afternoon, we weren't going to be able to make the delivery deadline of 1 PM the following day. So we decided that in order to get it to Regina on time, we would hand carry it to the destination. The only problem was that it had to get from Boston to Canada ASAP, and the only feasible connection would be a 6:30 AM Montreal-Toronto flight connecting to Regina. The driver in Boston started driving up north from the airport, and the plan was that I would meet him at the US-Canada border just after midnight and take the box from there. With plenty of time to spare, I had a strange feeling about it, and decided to head out as quickly as possible. Plus I love flying, so any chance I can get to be on a plane gets me all giddy. Did all the customs paperwork, drove down to the border, and parked at the Irving gas station waiting for the driver. Should I call him or not? As he's probably just around the corner. I won't bother him, as I thought. I decided to call. Hi, it's the driver from Montreal. What's your ETA? UHH. Yeah. I made a few wrong turns and I'm on I-89 instead of I-87. Osakarios, so what time do you think you'll get here at? Maybe around 4 AM. I looked at the clock. That's not going to work. Cue to me gunning the tiny little Ford Transit across the small town and heading down southbound on I-89 faster than ever before. I basically called the Boston driver every 10 minutes with what exit number are you passing, as I was guesstimating at which point we would be close enough. Finally, after what felt like ages, I was one stop away from him. Get off on the next exit, and I'll come find you. It probably took about 30 seconds for me to say hi, shake his hand, and grab the box from him. Poor guy didn't even really know what was going on. He was a contractor that was hired for the drive, and I took off. Now, I'm all about upholding the law, but the speeds at which I drove back towards Montreal, yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. Crossed the border. Check clock 4:30 AM. OS flight leaves at 6:30 AM. I'm sweating profusely at this point. If I miss the flight, I lose my only connection option to Regina, and the next flight wouldn't work at all. Also to note, I haven't stopped to even go to the bathroom at this point. I've had plenty of coffee that the tank is full, but I'm white-knuckled holding the steering wheel and driving and making sure that every move is made to optimize my arrival time. Pull into the airport. It's 6 AM. Flight leaves at 6:30 AM. Looking for parking. I head to the express parking and by pure chance I find one that's just in front of the terminal. Great. Check. Car keys, credit card, passport, and box. Go go go. 6:05 I'm in the terminal. I'll never forget her name. Alejandra. She's at the Air Canada kiosk and I go up to her. Explain quickly box. Toronto. Life saving. She scans my passport. And the check-in shows an error. The flight is already boarding. So she asks if I have anything else to check in. Nothing. Just the box which is more important than me. She makes a quick phone call. Looks at me. And says follow me closely. We run through the airport. She looks at the security guy at the pre-screening lineup and says express. The guy nods and opens up the cord and lets me cut ahead to the screening line. I dump everything I have into the bin. And tell them that the boxes do not X-ray material. So that adds time. I'm hearing final boarding call for Air Canada flighters and I know it's my flight. The security agent pulls aside my box. Opens it up and swabs it. Runs it into the machine. And all good. Now I'm hearing my name on the announcement system. MR. Kiddo. Please make your way to the gate immediately. The security guy is just finishing up and repacking the box. No time for that. I grab the box and yell out towards the gate I'm here. It's ME. The counter staff seems surprised. And quickly grab my boarding pass to scan and mention run as they hand it back to me. I run. Which is more like a sideways gallop through the little galleyway as the box is still open from the top and my jacket is open. Everything is just fumbling around. The door is still open. I hop over the threshold and I'm in. The flight attendants take the box from me to store. Point me to my seat. And I've made it. I only realized this in hindsight. But from the perspective of the passengers I saw they see a bewildered Middle Eastern looking dude who's sweaty. Hasn't shaved in a while. And out of breath holding a mangled looking box with strange stickers all over it with a huge grin on his face getting onto the plane. I'm pretty sure the flight attendants opened the box to check its contents also, since when I got it back it was neatly repacked and sealed. I get to my seat, pull out my phone and start texting the office with I've made IT. Funny enough, the guy sitting next to me asked to be seated elsewhere shortly after takeoff. It was much easier after that. I land in Toronto. Connect to Regina. Land and grab a cab to the clinic where the doctors were waiting for me. Handed over the box. And I was done. Funny enough, I walked out of the clinic and just walked for a little while in the cold winter to really grasp the insanity of what I pulled off. Made my way to a Tim Hortons and had a coffee and found a hotel to sleep for the first time in a while. I walked into the lobby of the Holiday Inn and asked if they have a room. The clerk's response of I think we might have some availability left still gets me. I woke up the next day and had the day to myself. Browsed around the local mall. Had some food. And just explored a bit until the evening flight. Which brought about the adventure that you already know about. One time I threw a light bulb across the street from my house and it didn't shatter. I've posted guitar tabs online that have had millions of views. I got myself out of homelessness. Awarded by the mayor for my heroism. But you try slipping that one in without sounding like a huge douche. Edit. Holy crap this blew up. Thanks for the gold and up votes. I have the 14th highest score in the world on a stupid app. I wish I could put that on my resume. I once held 72 grapes in my mouth and took them out one by one intact. I look at grapes now and can't believe I did that. When I tell the story, I always make it 42. Because 72 sounds so stupidly unbelievable. But it was 72. I owned and ran one of the biggest hentai websites in the 90s when I was just 16 years old, and I'm a chick. Crashed many ISPs due to bandwidth use they had never seen before. I was being threatened to be sued by Eris Comics because I was scanning their comics and putting them online. I managed to convince them to make me their exclusive online source and funneled readers to them to buy the comics. They mailed me boxes of comics every month and I hand scanned every page. Made thousands of dollars that most was stolen by my business partner because he had to handle the money because I was under 18. I miss the days when people paid for porn. Edit. Since I got many requests, I have a little bit of my original collection left. Posted here. Saved 2 kids' lives while I was out having a double date in the Navy. Can't ever mention it without feeling like humbler brag. For about 3 weeks when I was in high school, I held the world record for high score, without cheats or power-ups, on Fruit Ninja's arcade mode. Edit. My score was 1435. I had screenshots on my old phone. This was about 7 years ago now, but I have moved house several times since then, and it looks like that phone is long gone. I ate 36 popsicles in 3 hours. I spent my entire senior year of college writing only with my non-dominant left hand, since all papers and exams had to be typed. This left only class notes to be handwritten. It was pretty sloppy at first, but by the following May, it was deliberate and angular, like a serial killer's. Edit. For everyone asking why I would do this, I have no good answer. When I was a kid, I found out being a lefty was rare and I was intrigued. I actually started doing it at work. I was a server and no one ever saw what I was writing, and like every third table would comment about cool lefties were, so it just encouraged me how to practice. By the time I was a senior in college, it was getting a bit easier. Ironically, I met a good friend at that restaurant and that friend introduced me to my now husband. So for the first like 3 years of our relationship, my husband absolutely thought I was left-handed. Long after I switched back to using the right, I one day had to correct him, privately of course, when I overheard him telling some of his family members that I was left-handed. While the writing was a fun little experiment, it definitely left more questions than answers when someone found out. I beat one of the rarest cancers in the world when I was 14. It would have been more likely for me to have won the lottery twice than get that cancer. If I relapse, I will not be able to beat it a second time. I will officially be in remission this May. I'm grateful for every day. Edit. I had no idea I'd get such a response. Thank you all so much for the golden kind comments. For those of you who asked, my cancer was undifferentiated sarcoma. It's fetal tissue, so if I relapse, it will come back as several different types of cancer at once. There have only been about 100 official cases since 1950 and only 1 maybe 2 cases a year. And there have been no cases where the cancer was found in the face, which is where mine was. I am 19 now and sit on the board of a childhood cancer and rare illness organization. I teach the art therapy classes there among other things. I tell each and every kid, if I relapse, I relapse. Cancer can kill me, but I will die with a smile on my face. I was given a very lucky second chance. I won't spend it in fear. I lost my virginity today, if that counts. I invented Counter-Strike surf maps. They got so popular that you can see pros playing them in between matches at big CS:GO competitions. In fact, there was a post on the front page a few weeks ago of someone playing a surf map on a laptop at a nightclub. I didn't make that exact level, but I have made a ton of them back in the day. Such great memories. Any of you OGs on Reddit? Edit. From the bottom of my heart, thank all of you for the love. I will reply to everyone, but let me try to answer some FAQs. I made a map called Car Kill Box, which consisted of skateboards with boxes on them that you race downhill. There were houses in the map with sloped roofs, and I witnessed my buddy fall down one to his death. Hilarious, but at the same time an idea hit me. I climbed up and slid down the roof and almost landed on a ladder located near an adjacent house. I kept trying to make the jump and eventually got it. I made a prefab out that roof, expanded it, rotated it, and eventually made the infamous beginning ramp that you see in most of my maps. The original maps were so incredibly basic. Surf the Gap was the first released surf map ever. It consisted of the ramp I just mentioned and a tiny 16x16 unit platform a fair distance away covered in water and a button to blow up the whole map. My buddies and I would surf and shoot each other for hours. I would eventually start making maps such as All 1.6, Surf Egypt, City, City 2, Aztec, designed by Raz, built by me, Ninja, Water Run, Nuts, Christmas, Skate V1, Crepepsi, just to name a few. My buddy Desper and I would leave surf map servers running on our computers overnight, and when we were at school, I used to accept map designs from fans and make the levels for them. At first, surfing didn't catch on. People would join, get frustrated, then usually flame me and leave. Eventually, people started learning how to surf and enjoyed it. I was constantly getting support in game, on AIM, and on mapping forums such as the whole Half-Life, which is where I learned to map. Thank you to everyone who powered through the suck of learning how to surf and made it what it is today. I don't think I ever released a source surf map, but I did make one to see if surfing still worked. Surfing in source felt so different, much more difficult in my opinion, and I never ended up making the switch. I never released a CS::GO map either. As for proof, I installed 1.6 last night and took a few screenshots. You can see my CJ Maps logo. My name is Charlie Joyce. At the end of ramps and in other maps, I added my Steam ID to City 2 and my AIM screen name in City. Here are the shots. For those of you who don't know what surfing is, here's a video I made when I released City 2. Warning, the video contains the song Yonkers by Tyler the Creator and has explicit lyrics. You have all seriously made me so happy. I made these 15 years ago and very few people know who I am. It's so nice to finally have my story heard. I made these maps for you all to enjoy. So seeing all of these comments saying people have spent hundreds of hours enjoying my maps or other maps inspired by my idea actually makes me get a little choked up. Thank you all so very much for the kind words. The Reddit Silver Gold Plat. And most importantly for just loving surf maps. I've contemplated making a full in-depth video of the origins and progress of surfing, but never pulled the trigger because I didn't think anyone still cared about these maps. I'm thinking I definitely need to do it now. Cheers everyone. I had sex with a cheerleader in a no males allowed sorority house. I can't boast about it because I ended up marrying her. I made all 3 outs in 1 inning. I struck out, hit a line drive to the shortstop and grounded out. Yup, the team batted around 3 times and I made all 3 outs. Before I met you I'd never orgasmed except with a vibrator. I rode that ego wave for a week. Saved my infant nephew's life when I went to visit my sister. Look at that kid and get all fuzzy feelings now. I'd gone down to visit my sister in a town 4 hours away because she'd just given birth to my youngest nephew. He has an older brother 4 years old. When I got there the baby was dozing off in his rocker, so my sister picked him up and put him to sleep in his crib and we went to do some yard work outside. Come back in 30 minutes later. I go to have a shower cause I'm covered in dirt and sister goes to check on baby. I remember this part vividly step by step. The tone and everything. I hear my sister loudly exclaim "What the duck?" Then about 3 seconds of silence until she starts screaming to call an ambulance. She runs out and grabs the phone and I run my now naked ass into the baby's room and see him dead in his crib. I'm talking completely blue. Glazed over eyes. No breathing, no movement. I start CPR. Only knew how to do it because I'd read one of those CPR posters and luckily it had a baby section. I get through exactly 15 pumps and the kid chokes up a ton of blood and starts to breathe again. Ambulance shows up. Screams that he's got good color and rushes him out. Spends 1.5 hours in resus and taken to ICU. Nurses and doctors said he was in respiratory and cardiac arrest. Said that if I hadn't started CPR so quickly he wouldn't have survived. And even with my intervention it was about a 3% chance for him to make it out anyway. Turns out he had developed sepsis because of a bad kidney he was born with. He grew resistant to the antibiotics they'd been given him and he got blood poisoning basically. Most likely had a seizure and choked on his own blood and vomit before we found him. Anyway, he's alive and healthy now. Got the bad kidney taken out and turned one about 2 weeks ago. We don't think he has any lasting brain damage, but can't be 100% sure until he grows some more. But so far he's hitting milestones on time, so fingers crossed. I have PTSD because of it though, and it's not really something to slip into conversation, so I just sit on it quietly. But every time I see that kid I'm just so smitten and happy he's here and alive. Edit. Thank you all so much for the support and kind words. This is the first time I've ever spoken so openly about what happened. I even keep it under wraps with my family, so the love I'm getting makes it so much easier to come to terms with. And when my nephew gets older, I can tell him that his little mishap got me some gold on Reddit, so we both came out winners. I once farted so loudly that Siri picked it up and recommended my nearest pet store. Throw away for reasons that will become obvious. I have a severe medical condition that causes me immense leg pain. For some reason which no doctor has been able to fully explain. When I climax it causes some of the most severe pain that I have ever experienced. Many times when I have wet dreams, I'm awoken from them screaming in absolute agony. I can't fully finish ever. I have to get going and then stop once the pain begins. The pain starts as just a little ache, but quickly becomes worse. After starting a new pain med last year, though, I was going at it, and suddenly I was filled with a desire to see this one through. No matter what, the pain meds made the pain less than it normally was, and, for the first and only time in my life, I did it. I finished, even as I was doubled over at my desk from the pain. I'm not fully sure why I did it, and I haven't done it since, but just knowing that I can makes me feel just a tiny bit better. When we were kids, we would try to throw our snack foods into the cleavage gap in girls' shirts without them knowing, as any 12-year-old would do. I managed an incredible long shot by hucking a goldfish in the air from across our cafeteria and it landed perfectly into a girl's shirt. She then confirmed my shot inadvertently by taking it out and eating it. Duck in Bullseye. A couple years ago money was tight for me after losing a trucking job because of developing epilepsy. I had been growing small amounts of marijuana for years for personal use, so I decided to go big and try to make some money. My plants got massive in my backyard and I live in a neighborhood. I got so paranoid. Every helicopter I heard was coming to arrest me. Every teen walking down the street had a secret plan to steal my plants. I ended up sleeping in a tent a month and a half in the garden. I pulled over 40 pounds of extremely high quality bud and solved my money issues for a year. Edit. Lot of doubters I guess. People can average over 10 pounds a plant outdoors. I didn't get anything close to that. Closer to 1.5 lbs. It's really not that impressive. If the plants on the outside of garden got the same sun, they would have gotten bigger and my average would have went up. Here's a 12-foot plant I did a couple years ago. Got about 1.5 pounds off it. 6 feet privacy fence for reference. Here's the garden from that year. I couldn't fit it all in one picture. Eat it, haters. I once had a co-worker really into me. I told her we couldn't sleep together since she worked for me. She turned in her notice a few days later. I work for a company that manufactures solar filters for telescopes and cameras. My company is the only company that manufactures the film that is ISO certified and able to be used to make those solar glasses everybody used to watch the eclipse. It was my job to sample and quality check all of the film that was received and sent out to make glasses cards. Therefore millions of Americans unknowingly trusted me with their eyes and equipment. Edit. Proof you base hunter. Samples from before the eclipse. When I was a kid I had fun sliding the soap bars around the bathtub at max speed as if it was Speed Racer. One time I did it as fast as I could and stood up just to have it fall onto my hand perfectly. I wooed and was proud of myself. My D has been front page on Reddit. It was several years ago and I made a gif while it faced of me pulling my foreskin back to reveal a troll face. Don't have the gif anymore. Can't find it for the life of me, but it's out there somewhere. A monument to my knack for attention whoring. Told my girlfriend in my sleep, just so you know, I can't move things with my mind. She still has 6 with me. Was on a championship team of a gaming league long before esports was really a thing. Season 3 and 4 of 2002 stronger than all platinum league team Fortress Classic champion reporting in. Can't bring it up because no one gives a duck. At least 5,000 hours of my life very poorly spent. Great game, though. Nothing like it today. Completed the National Pokédex in Gen 6, and pieced together a living dex in Gen 7. Can't talk about it without people looking at me funny. Making $1 million gambling. I sold at the price in the screenshot. I avoided the crash. Gains are fully realized. My taxes. Anyway, that kind of win just can't be brought up with other people. It fosters so much resentment. Perfectly understandable though. So when my friends and co-workers talk about money or how much they've saved, I just answer I'm doing okay and don't elaborate. If anyone asks if you should do this, dear God no. This was seriously ducked up. I almost died. This was insane. That was pure luck. I was not in control of that situation at all. Look at this it. Why do I keep doing this? I don't know. Maybe I hate myself. Maybe I think I deserve to die. I don't know. I created an account to get dudes to moon me over Reddit and it has worked on a few occasions. Lied about my 23 and result to convince my racist grandparents that they are about 30% Mexican. They still haven't gotten over it. Caused a couple of 70-year-olds to have an identity crisis. I shot a lighter off a trash can with a BB gun drunk as duck at 3 AM first try to win a Percocet. Met a porn star in an elevator in Vegas. Ended up spending 3 days with her. I quit smoking crack. I'm 6 years clean from heroin this month. I don't have many conversations about heroin and don't care to bring it up. Went a whole day without touching my wee-wee. Got permission from my boss to take a half day off because it was my birthday. Used that afternoon to go on an interview for another job. I got the job. Edit. Okay, to clarify. Yes, that was a D move. My boss still doesn't know it, but we left on good terms. I started on my new job the next month. My old job was great but they weren't paying us properly. We barely got holidays off. And our sick and vacation leave isn't paid. My new job is a step down from my old one. But there's more room for me to grow in my career. My shift won't be on rotation unlike my old job. I'd be 12 PM to 9 PM one night and 8 PM to 5 AM the next. Without night differential or overtime. They actually offer health and dental benefits. And I'll be working in a field I actually like. Creatives. My boss and I are on good terms. And if they plan to make me a better offer that actually includes benefits, I'd probably rejoin if only because I love the people there. I have the entire periodic table of the elements memorized. It was a bet with my high school chemistry teacher that I won. But it's not something I can exactly break out at parties. I escaped a cult. I caught a bee in between my middle and ring fingers. Not once, but on 2 separate occasions. I was thinking about putting it on my resume but decided that no one likes a show off. Not really an accomplishment, but Tommy Wiseau literally shook me by the lower neck. Busted a nut in the bathroom of my state capitol building.